Also, Porsches get released. Stu, welcome back to you. We had a terrific day yesterday. There's lots of different class battles that we need to consider when it comes to Pirelli Porsche. Up in front, some very cool modern generation cup cars, and then further back we've got fiercely contested action in the boxes too, don't we? Welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Yep, fierce is the word. Hand-to-hand combat is probably what it amounts to down there. And we've had quite a change in the grid. Our series rolls through. As you improve, you get faster, you can roll up the grid, move up the grid. So we've got our championship leader, Daniel Angus, who was about 4th or 5th yesterday on the grid, is now 2nd. Nick Cupfield, and the oldest cup car on the grid, has moved up into 3rd place. So he is punching way above his weight. So and quite a change around.
He was chuffed when I spoke to him yesterday afternoon too. It was more or less like, leave the car alone. I'm really happy. So
yeah,
nice way to roll into Sunday. And on that note, why don't we take a look at the grid for you for this one in Pirelli Porsche. Gary Derrick will line up on pole position alongside him. Daniel Angus, Nicholas Cutfield, who we were just talking about, alongside Duncan McCrosty, Stephen Sullivan, Brian Scott, who had a good outing last time, or just 1 week ago, I should say, when the series was in Invercargill.
He had a great run, and he's new to us, but he's loving it, and he's going to come up and join us for the next series next season.
So we have a change in the number 9. Marco Schelp jumps back behind the wheel of that car for today. Terrific that he's sharing that with his son Vin this weekend. Vin did a great job yesterday, finishing on the podium effectively.
He did, and he was learning the track. First time Vin has ever been out here. A little bit of a different story with Marco. He knows this track really well.
Back down we go to positions 22 and 23. The father and son combination, Ashton and Mark McCorn. But in that fun piece of rivalry, we've got a little story that we've done with the father and son over the weekend. Ashton has the upper hand this weekend. Bit of a different story. It was Mark at Terratonga, wasn't it?
And boy, have they had their dramas, that family. Poor old Ashton has had a stomach issue, bug. And Mark had to drive all the way to Christchurch to pick up a spare. He broke some suspension pieces the day before, so it's a big drive there and back.
Stephen Fang with the wipers on at the moment. Just looking outside our commentary box, Ronan, we can see the cloud cover kind of hanging in the hills and the ranges. It is a little darker above us at the moment, but it is in that awkward phase where it's just a light dusting, isn't it, that we get from time to time here. It's not enough to concern the drivers.
Yeah, at the moment it doesn't really. You can see maybe some weather in the back there that may potentially be coming, but the track still looks dry, so maybe Stephen just accidentally bumped the wiper stick in the car. But we see there he's going to have a great battle again with Ian Hill in the 58. And also to mention as well, Ethan Hurrigan's back out there in the number 4 car, the Porsche Cayman, so watch for him, because it turned out, I believe, last night they were working on the car and they found it had a couple of faulty coils which have been changed, so that car should be back on all cylinders again today, and he's certainly been really fast in that little car, so watch him to try and push forward and battle with some of those cup cars in a bit of a David versus Goliath battle.
Now, the 944s are worth following as well, and this might be a little bit of a late story. I don't know that the 777 is in its correct grid spot here. Tim Robinson was due to start out of position 11, but he looks like he's at the tail of the pack.
Yeah, whether he just had trouble getting away there, I'm not sure, but he can still move up there. Just they'll wait for him to move up. But just noticing a couple of drops on the lenses there. They see all the wipers there, so it's coming, isn't it? That's a worry, because these, mind you, the Boxsters are on very much a treaded type, so it's not going to worry them. The slick car guys are going to worry.
I think if we get going and it's dry and they get a few laps, if those cup cars can get those tyres up to temperature, the slick, once it's got a lot of heat in it, it's very actually hard to lose heat unless it was torrential rain. So they may be okay. It will just depend on how it sort of holds out. At the moment, there's only a couple of drops, so we should be pretty good to go for a start here on the conditions as they are.
So to Stu's point, both Marco Schelp and the 777 of Robinson here just finding their rightful grid spots before we go racing. They ease into position here. We'll be in the starters' hands under the guidance of Motorsport New Zealand, the wonderful team there in race control here at Highlands. This is Pirelli Porsche. If you weren't with us yesterday, fantastic battle with Gary Derrick, Daniel Angus. The lights come on, the revs start to rise, the iconic German mark, a full field of them, and away we go. Derrick gets a really nice start and will lead them down for the first time. Scott gets a march on. He picks up a spot, maybe over Stephen Sullivan. They're away, looks pretty tidy as well. And Robinson has the upper hand in the 944s, and I think Hill has got the march in the Boxsters.
He has. He's got a great grip. The idea there, that's Simon Thurler having a moment on the first lap. The idea, of course, is if you can get a couple of different class cars in between you, gives you a great advantage.
Body language Ronan through here, very much single file at the moment. A couple of little light sprinkles, as Stu Owers mentioned, on our camera lenses around the venue. And when you're that leading group here, it's sort of a mixture of little bit tentative, but also trying to make the most of this early phase of the race, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. Maybe we're starting to see some drops on the cameras around the circuit, and a lot of guys maybe it wasn't an accident seeing Stephen Fang with the wipers going, because a few of the cars now seem to have their wipers going. So maybe the weather is a little bit more treacherous out there than what we initially thought. But we see there Gary Derrick's still got the lead. Daniel Angus and Brian Scott are right in behind him. They were our contenders from Tauratonga last weekend. Stephen Sullivan there in the 991 Gen 1, trying to keep the Gen 2s honest. They're in fourth. And Nicholas Cutfield.
Brian Scott is flying here, Ronan. Look at this from the start and up and over the bridge. He's energised at the moment. More sprinkles, certainly at that camera position that we have. Dramas here, and that's a real shame. A continuation from yesterday, perhaps. Something going on.
We thought that car was potentially fixed yesterday, but maybe not so. So really disappointing for Ethan Hurrigan and his dad, Mark. Be there somewhere in the pits as well. It's just disappointing for those guys. It was going to be good to see how they would have fared today against some of these faster cars.
Look at Brian Scott. Now, he's trying to get that nice, sweet, that fast line through here.
Great rivalry here. He's taking on Daniel Angus, who is more experienced in that car, but not so experienced on this track. So there's a bit of yin and yang going on there, a to and fro. But Nick Cutfield is probably the one that he started in third place. He's dropped right away back, so not such a good start from him.
Yeah, and Brian Scott was the fastest car in that opening lap with a 1 minute 50.6. So, he's fired it off the track. Big, massive understeer moment there. He's taken out a few of the cones with him. So, Brian Scott there, just maybe he's either got an issue of some sort, or maybe just hasn't got those front tyres up to 10 yet.
I wonder if it's just an indication of how hard he's pushing in the early part of this race run, and did he just perhaps overstep the marker, because he's been driving on confidence. He's been fast in the early part of this one. This is the fourth stop in 5 rounds for Pirelli Porsche. Began at Manfield back in October. They were with us for Topor, of course, for our season opener of the Next Gen NZ Championship, and this is the second event of a double header for them. Tauratonga last weekend, and then here at Highlands, and awesome to have Pirelli Porsche as a part of it all.
These guys feel like pro drivers, racing one weekend, relaxing, giving a high life, into the driving end the next weekend.
Lots of them have stuck, I mean, if they're from the North Island or the northern parts of the South Island, they've stuck down in this part of the world and enjoyed it too, haven't they,
Exactly.
in that week?
Good break, yeah.
What do we think, Ronan?
Yeah, it just looked like he was a little bit offline there, and he maybe tried to pick up the power a bit too early. And once you get into marbles, slick tyres don't like marbles obviously they don't have tread. So when you run out onto uneven surface, they lose their grip pretty quickly. So maybe just out on the marbles, and even on lap 2, 3, these tyres probably aren't fully up to pressure yet. So he clearly just a bit of a mistake on his part, and he managed to keep going. Lost the spot to Steve Sullivan, but I'm sure he'll be back in it, having a crack at Sullivan again soon.
Motor racing followers will know that term, marbles. It's affectionately what we talk about is that build-up on the side of the track. It's rubber and debris and things like that as we see Burton off the track. That's not good.
This could, I saw a whole lot of dust in the background at one stage. I'm just wondering if it was Matt Burton there. He's pulled over. Let's hope he's in a safe spot, otherwise we're going to get a safety car.
Cars all backed by Pirelli and Kensway, we should say too. Kensway from a civil and project management side of things, great partners of this championship, aren't they?
They've been with us for years now. They certainly are, and do a lot for the series apart from just putting their names on the cars too. They're brilliant to have.
Back we go to the 944 battle, and it's Tim Robinson from Hawke's Bay that has the advantage at the moment. But again, these two are keeping in close company, just as they did yesterday. Stephen Fang in the background there is the winner of yesterday's battle of the Boxsters. But Ian Hill, just like he did yesterday, has that early advantage. He led yesterday.
Yeah, exactly right. And Ian Hill's got a bit of a lead over Stephen Fang at the moment. So Stephen's got a bit of work to do to try and catch up. We see there the wipers going. So he's clearly determined that the weather out there has changed, and there is a bit of potentially a bit of light rain over the backside of the circuit that we can't quite see. But as he comes through there, through the hairpin, onto the back straight, got one of the 944s there in behind him.
I think that's Marin Vucic, isn't it? And that car, was it suffering some distributor issues at Tiratonga, something like that?
Every issue go wrong.
And was hands-on endeavouring to fix it. And Ronan's been drawing our attention back to the monitor here while Stu and I are talking, and that's because Brian Scott's on the rebound here again. He's got good pace and using it.
Brian Scott's just taken the lead, the third place position back off Stephen Sullivan. And he's also managed to do the fastest lap of the race so far with a 1 minute 44.1. So he's the only car in the 1 minute 44s, and so quite a significant lap time margin over the rest of them at the moment. So plenty of speed in that car, and that mistake earlier on.
Now it's loose in the background there. We could see the way that Daniel Angus was seesawing the wheel a little bit, trying to get grip through that left-hander. And was that Cutfield in the background or someone, or McCrosty, that seemed to lose the car on the run to the underpass of the bridge, the back end really stepping out there.
Yeah, it looked like he did have a pretty sizable moment, as we see there. Daniel Angus going defensive on Brian Scott. Brian Scott's, the fastest car on the circuit at the moment. He's having a great run as he's looking up the inside of Daniel Angus now. Got a good run on him, and he's actually almost had overlap there, but he's managed to pull back in. These guys slowing the car down for the bridge. Brian Scott's going to be hard to keep behind. He's got a pretty sizable speed advantage at the moment. Daniel Angus going defensive. He's making that Kensway 991.2 very wide at the moment. Steve Sullivan there.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Steve Sullivan joining in. He's taking advantage there, of course. These guys are holding each other up now. There's so much action going on in the mirrors, defensive lines, that sort of thing. Steve Sullivan's taking advantage of it.
It's all good for Gary Derrick up in front. Nice to see him join the party for Pirelli Porsche this weekend. His advantage, 2.9 seconds over Daniel Angus now. He's got his hands full with Brian Scott. You can see on screen here. Crosty is up to fifth. Cutfield, I think it was before, that we saw having the back end step out on him. Let's have a little look at this here. So this is what got Ronan's attention before.
And he just outbraked and went round the outside of Steve Sullivan. So he got a good exit off the final corner. We see here. Here's the moment you were talking about, Rusty.
Watching the background here, is it Cutfield who? There you go.
Yeah, Cutfield, massive big slide, but he managed to hold on to it.
To your point, right out wide, and in that you talked about it being marbles, right? When you get up on that dirty stuff, that build-up, that debris, that rubber and so on, and the tyres roll across that, the car just does not want to grip and do its thing on the road, does it?
Yeah, but it looked like he had already started going sideways before the apex of the corner, so that means he's likely probably outbraked himself or had a moment at the first part of the chicane, and then he's lost it as he's come through the second part. So, but great job. He managed to hold on to it, and he kept the car in a bit of a slide there, bit of drifting action, and kept going. So he's lost a lot of time, but luckily he hasn't lost too much in the way of positioning. I think maybe Duncan McCrosty maybe made his way past him. But we also go back just the previous lap there while we're watching that replay. Brian Scott had a huge moment going into the bus stop, ran well wide, and
he's pushing hard, isn't he?
Very much so. He certainly hasn't stopped him from trying. He's pushing on again and trying to chase down Daniel Angus. Gary Derrick's walking away with this one. He's got almost a 3-second lead over the rest of the field.
Stephen Fang has picked up the lead here in the battle of the Boxsters, and I think we've seen a change in the 944s too.
Yeah, the grey car, that's dropped back. That's Daniel Gross. He's dropped back and let the Vukic car get through. But look, we're on lap 6 now. That lap 7 is where they come across all the boxes. The cup cars will start striking traffic, and that's going to mix things up a bit. There's opportunities will open up, and doors will close.
Can I give a little thought too on the Nicholas Cutfield story? Just a little addition to that. We've got to remember he's still relatively new in his motor racing journey. He started out with a passion for two wheels. I think he's a dentist from the Hawke's Bay, is he not? But really enjoying his time in these cup cars. But every outing is a form of learning.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, this is a new track to him as well. So not only he's learning that new car, he's also feeling his way up that track. But he's got the raw speed. He's fast.
Yeah, and we just saw there on the previous lap, Brian Scott again set the fastest lap of the race with a 1 minute 43. So only car in the 43s now for him. And, oh, sorry, not the only car, because Daniel Angus actually wasn't too far behind. But Brian Scott does have the fastest lap of the race to this point. Gary Derrick's pace dropped off. He was in the 44s, and that gap's actually dropped down to 2 seconds rather than the 3 seconds it was previously.
Let's have a little look here. This is our race leader. Now, this has been an awkward corner. He gets through okay. Brian Scott, this is the second time in this race this has happened for Brian Scott. So he gets that energy back up. He gets that confidence back up. But this is the corner that's biting him at the moment.
Yeah, he's just clearly not approaching that corner correctly. He's
going it way too hot, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not. He wasn't even near the apex that time, and then he's ran off the road. So he's obviously giving it a red hot go, trying really hard. But maybe just needs to try and work on that corner a little bit more to be able to try and stay ahead, because he's lost a lot of time for these guys at the front. And Steve Sullivan there's actually managed to get by him again. He's very wide going to the bus stop, so he's just pushing on really hard, trying his best to try and make as much ground into the corner. But we see
fastest lap for Daniel Angus, a 1:43.184. Sullivan lit up the monitor in the middle part of the lap, but Angus has stitched together the new quickest one, and he's edging in these cooler conditions, the nice climate that we have here this morning, which is conducive to good lap times. He's edging closer to a 42. Look at that, it's a 43.1 at the moment.
As we see there, Brian Scott trying to go down the inside of Steve Sullivan, and Daniel Angus is really chopping into that gap that Gary Derrick's got. It's now just over 1.5 seconds. He's pushing hard and pushing him on, as we see there. Angus going down the inside. Down towards the hairpin.
You can see the car moving under brakes. He's pushing it all right. And Daniel's the sort of guy that needs to have confidence, and he builds into these things. And that's exactly what he's doing this time. He's got the feel for it now. The slicks are up to temperature, and he can also see his target just in front of him.
Yeah, the gap ahead's just slow. It's decreasing and decreasing as we continue on in this race. We've got 3 laps to go. Next time by will be 2 laps, as we see there. Brian Scott managed to clear Steve Sullivan, so he's now back into that 3rd position, but he's got a whole lot of work to do to try and catch Daniel Angus.
Here comes Gary Derrick. Little bit of lap traffic to think about. The 1:12. Simon Thurlow gets by nice and easily. He knows this venue really well, Gary Derrick. Good to have him here this weekend as a part of it. Is this a case of just managing the advantage? It's just under 2 seconds. Back to Daniel Angus, who now finds himself with that single line through this long sweeping right-hander here, a little bit box right, and that's hurt him actually.
Yeah, and certainly when you get stuck behind a slower car through the southern loop, there's not really any way past. You've got to wait till the exit of the corner to get that done. So we see there, Daniel Angus lays down the horsepower of the 991 Gen 2 Cup car. And hey, guys, just to point out as well, Marco Schelp, he's down in 20th and 4 laps down. I believe he's made it into the pit, so really disappointing. Clearly an issue with that 997 Cup S.
That's a shame. That was fun to have him there. Such a historic car, almost a historic driver with his background and his experience. So that's a pity.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool car, that one. It's designed to attack the most feared circuit on planet Earth, the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and disappointing that it's not managed to finish this race.
Yeah, he's got some great experience, doesn't he, on the CV, both here in New Zealand and certainly in Germany. So we'll get onto that story and answer that, and if we don't, we'll keep you up to date when Pirelli Porsche continues here at Highlands. Through they come, watching the Boxsters. Derrick keeps the lead at 1.9 at the last timing monitor. And look at the gaggle of Boxsters in the middle here. This is awkward for Angus. It was tough through the southern loop, and it's about to get a whole lot harder in terms of that advantage.
Yeah, as we see there, the Boxsters are now creating a bit of havoc for the 2 Cup cars in behind there. And what that's done is actually brought Brian Scott back right up in behind Daniel Angus. So the traffic's actually helping him a lot. It's certainly hurt Daniel Angus a bit. But
look at Scott, here he comes. He has got a great run through the Boxsters here, while Angus was understandably just tentative, mindful of the fact that the Boxster is a slower car and what those drivers might do, the sort of stuff, Stu, that you talk about in the drivers' briefings and so on.
Also mindful of his championship. It's so important that he finishes these races. Even if he gets a second, it's still better that than a DNF sitting in the pits with a broken wheel or something. So he's got that in mind. But Gary Derrick got a lucky break further back. Just happened to strike those boxes on a nice long straight. That's exactly where you want to find them. Whereas Daniel Angus was caught them just as all the corners were coming up. So difficult timing there.
With time running out, Scott is eager not to repeat the moments that he's had in that corner on 2 occasions now. So he can't afford a blue like that as he chases Angus. We go back to Stephen Sullivan, who's cleared those boxes now in 4th place. Duncan McCrosty is 5th, then Nicholas Cutfield rounds out your top 6. Robinson still leads the 944s, and he's in 8th outright.
And Stephen Fang's leading the 2.7 boxes, so he's managed to stay in front of Ian Hill there. Nice work there.
Might say well done to the series organisers. Yesterday in Victory Lane there, we celebrated some of the Boxster stars, didn't we? We didn't just focus on those up front yesterday.
Look, these guys are so important to us, and we like to make sure that we're not focusing on just the Cup cars. These guys have got immense talent to be able to do this side-by-side racing, and you can see from some of these shots the angles they get on these cars. They move them around. To get the most out of these, it's all about carrying momentum. So they're very, very good drivers in these cars.
Championship will wrap up in March at Hampton Downs. We would love to see you there as a part of the next event of the Next Gen NZ Championship presented by Repco. This is the end of 5 weeks straight for the signature Castrol Toyota Formula Regional Oceania Championship and the New Zealand Grand Prix, but Next Gen continues, and Pirelli Porsche will be with us for that big event at Hampton Downs in March. Can't wait for it. We're on the run home here, Ronan. Hard to see anybody catching Derek at this point. Car looks too good. He's managed the advantage, and in fact, with that traffic, it's out to 3 seconds.
Yeah, Derek's actually extended that gap, as you just said, Rusty. So he's on for a pretty cruisy victory at this point, but we actually saw further back there, Stephen Fang's got a pretty sizable gap over Ian Hill, so he's doing a great job out front there in the Boxster class. And Tim Robertson and Josh Buchanan are a little bit of a gap back to ahead of Nicholas Cutfield, but we see here these Cup cars are streaky out in front. There is actually Derek.
Oh! Now that has been the scene of some incidents in this race.
Nick Cutfield.
Why are they grip limited there? Is that all being brought on by the drivers just being too hungry, too eager when they get into that corner? Has it been because of something else, because of the debris and the little sprinkles of water? But it's been an action zone, hasn't it?
Well, the cars, when they get to that section of the track, you do run over a pretty heavy judder bar on the inside there before turning in for the next part of the corner. So at that point, though, you do need to arrest the car, slow it down and get it rotated. But for some reason, some of these guys, they're going in really deep, and it's not been able to pull the cars up.
Ronan Murphy, king of the judder bars, and Gary Derrick is king of Pirelli Porsche here on Sunday morning. He takes out the second race of the weekend. Great work by Daniel Angus, home in second. Manages to stay ahead of Brian Scott. I think Robinson's already greeted the checkered flag and will comfortably secure the 944s. And congratulations, Stephen Fang. Second straight race, second straight win in that Boxster class. In the early part of it, for whatever reason, Ian Hill seems to get the upper hand, but that's real smart. Fang fights back, doesn't he?
Oh, he does, and we've also got the other, but there's 2 Boxster classes. Cam McCormick in that lime green car, which you see shooting through there, he won the 2.5 Boxsters. Mark McCorn, the father and son team, Ashton McCorn, second and third.
Well done. You detailed before, of course, the dramas that both the McCorns have faced this weekend. So with Ashton not feeling 100% and Mark having to make the dash back to Christchurch, that's a little bit of positivity being injected into the McCorn camp on Sunday morning. We'll take a look at the results for you in the magic Central Otago. Gary Derrick takes it out from Daniel Angus in the end by 5 seconds. Brian Scott, an excellent third. Duncan McCrosty rounds out the 5. Nicholas Cutfield, he'll be filthy with himself with that little moment as they went to turn left and head under the bridge. He ends up finishing in 6th place. Fang with that result in the boxes that we talked about too. And we drift back, and a question mark over Marco Schelp. We'd love to know what's gone wrong there after a pretty good outing for his son Vin yesterday in car 9. And some dramas continuing as well, unfortunately, for Ethan Hurrigan in the Cayman. Highlights for you, second race of the weekend, Pirelli Porsche. Really nice start by Gary Derrick, leading the field away, but it was Brian Scott who really got a tremendous start. They went down into the bus stop for the first time. Tim Robinson with the upper hand in the 944, the 777. Then we started to see this become something of an action zone. It wouldn't be the first time that Brian Scott would venture off there. He had good pace, chased them back down, but you just wonder if second place may have been possible for him. Look up at the top of your screen there, top left. And again, this would happen for Scott. That was Cutfield going off there before. Ashton McCorn hasn't been feeling 100%, but came through the field. Cutfield again. But up in front, no problems for Gary Derrick in the end. Having negotiated some traffic, getting through the box, just a little faster, a little cleaner than the opposition, he would build a 5-second advantage to take out race 2 here at Highlands. Whew. Hasn't that whet the appetite for a great afternoon of racing we have? Somerset GT to come your way, and of course 2 races in CT Frock. So Robinson comes into Victory Lane. We're about to take you there to Stephen McIver very shortly. Don't forget, you can of course follow all of the action and get updates via our social media, our Next Gen NZ Championship social media. We say thank you to Rachel, Jaden, Stella and all of the team there working away to bring you all the news and information to complement what we're doing here in the coverage. About to take you to Stephen. Stick around too. Lots of fun stuff to be had in our coverage here today. We've been fortunate to enjoy some of the off-track activity that Highlands has to offer, from mini golf to karts and more.
I really rate that look of Tim Robinson with the sunnies in between the helmet there. Good way to, rather than run on a visor, run the old sunnies tints.
And running the 7s like the great Barry Sheen used to as well. Here's Stephen McIver.
Thanks, lads. 9:44 podium time, and Tim Robinson and the 777. I've got to say, your wife is over the moon, mate. She was giving me the jazz hands. She was that excited. How good was that?
No, that was good. It was really enjoyable, and I don't know what happened to my mate. He was giving it to me for half that race, but it was bloody good.
What's it like just in these 944s? I mean, they bring so many memories for me.
They're a beautiful car to drive, but we're wringing everything that we can out of them, so yeah, but it's awesome.
Well done, mate.
Thank you.
All right, on to Daniel Gross in the 85 car. Come on, Daniel. Congratulations on the P2. Well, what's it like fanging one of these around Highlands?
Oh, it's pretty hard work, you know. Those corners are pretty tough, and it's pretty loose. It was hard work trying to chase Tim, and I spun, and then he got away.
Oh, well, congratulations on the P2, mate.
No worries, thank you.
And Marin Vucic, where is he? Where's Marin? Come on in, buddy. Man, that looks like a brand new racer. Is that a new racer? That's fantastic.
Oh, mate, I don't move around too much, so I try not to lay on the floor with it, but it's I bought black for a reason, you know.
Why is that?
Well, I'm known to be a bit of a mess.
Talk to me about the race P3. Comfortable with that?
Yeah, we've been struggling all weekend. I'm battling a few engine gremlins, and I'm running with no power steering this weekend, so that's been interesting. So, yeah, it's a bit of a shame because I'd really like to be playing with these guys at the front, but because they're having a great battles. But hey, racing, that's racing. Old cars, unfortunately. We'll try and sort it out for the next round and come back.
Congratulations on P3, mate.
Thank you.